Describe the sample swatch file for natural fabrics. Describe the sample swatch file for synthetic fabrics. Describe the sample swatch file for specialty fabrics. The tools and materials required for swatch file are record note, fabric glue, needle and thread, cotton fabric, silk fabric, linen fabric, polyester fabric, nylon fabric, velvet fabric, suede fabric, leather. Now, let's explore the essential steps to create a fabric swatch book that not only showcases different fabrics but also helps you make informed choices. A fabric swatch book is an essential tool for designers, artisans, and anyone working with textiles. It serves as a comprehensive reference guide offering a tactile and visual representation of various fabrics. A well-organized fabric swatch book can be an invaluable resource for material selection and design inspiration. Let's look at how to create a swatch book. A good fabric swatch book should include a diverse range of materials. Consider including natural fibers like cotton, linen, and silk, as well as synthetic fibers such as polyester and nylon. Additionally, explore specialty fabrics like velvet, suede, leather, and lace to provide a comprehensive selection for various applications. To make the fabric swatch book user-friendly, organize the fabrics into categories. This could include categories based on fiber type, weave, weight, or color. Each fabric swatch should be accompanied by detailed information. Providing this information ensures that users can make informed decisions about the suitability of a fabric for their projects. In the fabric name, clearly state the name of the fabric to facilitate easy identification. Fiber content. List the primary fibers present in the fabric. For example, 100% cotton, polyester blend. Care instructions include washing, drying, and ironing guidelines to help users maintain the fabric's quality. To prevent wear and tear, securely attach each fabric swatch to the swatch book pages. Options include using fabric glue or stitching. Ensure that the swatches are attached flat and securely so that users can examine the texture and drape of each fabric easily. Let's look at creating swatch book for some common natural fabrics along with their names, fiber content, and general care instructions. In cotton, the fiber content is 100% cotton or cotton blends. Care instructions include machine wash in cold water, tumble dry on low, iron on medium heat if needed. Cotton may shrink, so follow specific care labels. In linen, the fiber content is 100% linen. Care instructions include hand wash or machine wash in cold water, preferably on a gentle cycle. Hang dry or tumble dry on low heat. Linen tends to wrinkle, so iron with a hot iron if desired. In silk, the fiber content is 100% silk. Care instructions include dry clean or hand wash in cold water using a mild detergent. Avoid wringing or twisting. Hang to dry and iron on low heat if needed. In wool, the fiber content is 100% wool or wool blends. Can include other animal fibers like alpaca or cashmere. Care instructions include dry clean for tailored garments. Some wool can be hand washed in cold water. Reshape and lay flat to dry. Avoid excessive heat as wool may shrink. In bamboo, the fiber content is bamboo viscose or bamboo blends. Care instructions include machine wash in cold water on a gentle cycle. Tumble dry on low or hang to dry. Bamboo fabric is naturally antibacterial and may require less frequent washing. In jute, the fiber content is natural plant fiber from the jute plant. Care instructions include avoiding exposure to water or moisture, as jute can lose its strength and shape. Spot clean with a dry cloth. Always refer to the care instructions provided on the fabric or garment label, as specific recommendations may vary based on the fabric blend, weave, and any additional treatments applied. Let's look at creating swatch book for some common synthetic fibers, along with their names, fiber content, and general care instructions. In polyester, the fiber content is 100% polyester or polyester blends. Care instructions include machine wash in warm water, tumble dry on low heat, or hang to dry. Polyester is resistant to wrinkles and usually does not require ironing. In nylon, the fiber content is 100% nylon or nylon blends. Care instructions include machine wash in cold water, tumble dry on low heat. Nylon is quick drying and often used in active wear. In rayon, the fiber content is regenerated cellulose fiber, semi-synthetic. Care instructions include hand wash or machine wash in cold water. Rayon can shrink when wet, so reshape and dry flat. Iron on low heat if needed. Always check the care instructions provided on the fabric or garment label, as specific recommendations may vary based on the fabric blend, weave, and any additional treatments applied. Understanding the care requirements ensures the longevity and quality of synthetic fabrics. Let's look at creating swatch book for specialty fabrics along with their names, fiber content, and general care instructions. In velvet, the fiber content is velvet made from various fibers, including silk, cotton, rayon, or synthetic blends. Care instructions include dry clean is often recommended for velvet to preserve its texture and appearance. If hand washing is necessary, use a mild detergent and cold water. Do not wring or twist. Gently press out excess water. Lay flat to dry or hang vertically to avoid crushing the pile. Use a velvet brush to restore the pile and remove any flattened areas. In suede, the fiber content is suede, typically made from the underside of animal hides, commonly from cows, goats, or sheep. Care instructions include the following. Regularly brush suede with a suede brush to maintain its texture. Use a suede eraser or vinegar solution to remove stains. Avoid exposing suede to water. If it gets wet, blot with a clean cloth and allow it to air dry. Professional cleaning is recommended for more stubborn stains or heavy soiling. In leather, the fiber content is leather, derived from the hides or skins of animals such as cows, sheep, goats, or pigs. Care instructions include the following. Wipe leather with a damp cloth to remove surface dirt. Apply a leather conditioner to keep the material supple and prevent drying or cracking. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight to prevent fading. Keep leather away from water. If it gets wet, blot with a clean cloth and allow it to air dry. For deeper cleaning or stains, consult a professional leather cleaner. In lace, the fiber content is lace made from a variety of fibers, including cotton, silk, nylon, or polyester. Care instructions include the following. Hand wash lace items in cold water with a mild detergent. Avoid wringing or twisting. Gently press out excess water. Lay flat to dry on a clean towel or hang to dry. Use a mesh laundry bag to protect delicate lace during machine washing on a gentle cycle. Iron on the lowest setting if needed, using a pressing cloth to protect delicate fibers. Always check the care instructions provided on the fabric or garment label, as specific recommendations may vary based on the fabric blend and any additional treatments applied. Understanding the care requirements ensures the longevity and quality of specialty fabrics. Let's recap the key points discussed. A fabric swatch book serves as a reference guide, offering a tactile and visual representation of various fabrics. A good fabric swatch book should include a diverse range of materials. Organize the fabrics into categories. Each fabric swatch should be accompanied by detailed information, namely fabric name, fiber content, and care instructions. This brings us to the end of the session. Hope you have gained a good understanding of Market Survey and Swatch File Part 2. See you in the next session. Hello. Welcome to the session on Practice on Paper. Let us look at the objectives of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to explain the importance and procedure of practicing on paper, explain the threading of machine, bobbin winding and loading, practice stitching in single needle lock stitch machine. The tools and materials required for practice on paper are single needle lock stitch machine, bobbin, bobbin case, needle, thread, A4 sheet, measuring tape, scale, pencil. Now let's look at the general procedure for practicing on paper. Take a paper and draw lines 1 centimeter apart under each other. Start the machine and lift the presser foot lifter and place the paper under it. Remember not to thread the sewing machine while practicing on paper. Place both hands on the paper, then lower the pressure foot and begin to gently pedal carefully. Monitor the movements of the needle and paper and the speed of the machine. Repeat this exercise until you have finished sewing all the lines. To sew angle curves, lower the pressure foot so that the needle is inside the paper and sew with horizontal lines. Practice stitching at the vertically curved edges and stopping the timelines and turning the paper. By training in this way, mistakes and irregular stitches that occur when sewing clothes can be prevented. Let's look at threading the upper thread to the machine. Before threading the upper thread, raise the thread take-up lever. This will make threading easier and it will prevent the thread from coming out while sewing. Thread the machine according to the points mentioned in it. Next, let's look at the procedure to wind the lower thread to the bobbin. First, turn on the power switch. Place the bobbin onto the bobbin winder shaft. Push down the bobbin presser arm as far as it will go. Wind the thread several times around the bobbin in the direction indicated by the arrow. Press the treadle. Lower thread winding will then start. Winding of the lower thread is completed. Remove the bobbin and trim the thread. Loosen the screw. If the thread cannot be wound on evenly, move the bobbin winder guide to left or right. Tighten the adjusting screw to wind more thread onto the bottom. The amount of thread wound onto the bobbin should be maximum of 80% of the bobbin capacity. Next task is to thread the lower thread to the bobbin. First, thread the lower thread to the bobbin and insert it into the bobbin case. Hold the bobbin towards left hand so that the thread winds to the right. Insert the bobbin into the bobbin case. Pass the thread through the slot and under the tension spring. Pull the thread out through the hole in the end of the tension spring. Check that the bobbin turns clockwise when the thread is pulled. Hold the latch on the bobbin case into the rotary hook. Now, let's perform stitch lines in different shapes on paper. Keep the A4 paper on a smooth surface and make sure that it is free from any wrinkles. Hold the pencil comfortably and make sure to have a firm grip for precise drawing. Select the pattern or design to draw on the A4 paper. Start drawing lines on an A4 paper. Or it could be simple shapes like circles, squares, triangles, or patterns like flowers or geometric designs. Begin by lightly sketching the outline of your chosen pattern on the A4 paper. Ensure that the lines are straight and the shapes are symmetrical, especially if you're drawing geometric patterns. After finishing your drawing, make sure the paper is correctly positioned under the sewing machine needle. Ensure that the edges of the paper are aligned with the edges of the sewing machine's Sewing plate. Once the paper is fixed, keep the mark on the paper under the needle point under the presser foot. Start moving the treadle while you push the flywheel of the machine by right hand towards yourself. Continue the movement of the treadle with your feet. While stitching, control the paper with both hands. With the movement of machine, the feed dog will automatically transport the paper, but you have to pay attention to the needle and presser foot to maintain the correct line of the stitches. Keep full tension on the paper and needle. Take care that your paper is not caught in the treadle wheel of the machine. Save your fingers from needle while controlling the paper, as machine stitching is faster than hand stitching. In the same way, practice on fabric with threading the needle and bobbin. Let's recap the key points discussed. Practice stitching at the vertically curved edges and stopping the timelines and turning the paper. By training in this way, mistakes and irregular stitches that occur when sewing clothes can be prevented. Design and draw simple patterns on paper. This brings us to the end of the session. Hope you have gained a good understanding of practicing stitches on paper. See you in the next session. Hello. Welcome to the session on Practice on Fabric. Let us look at the objectives of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to identify and describe the various types of stitches. Practice on fabric stitching with single needle lock stitch machine. First, let's look at the materials required for practicing on fabric. Single needle industrial lock machine, overlock machine, pinking shears, hand needle, scale, shears, long cloth of 1 meter, cord 0.30 meter, sewing threads, dressmaker's gauge, measuring tape. Next, let's learn the different types of stitches on fabric. A stitch refers to the joining or fastening of fabric or other material using a needle and thread. It involves the interlocking of thread through the material in a specific pattern, creating a secure and often decorative connection. So, some of the basic types of stitches are straight stitch, curved stitch, triangle stitch, back tack stitch, spiral stitch, and zigzag stitch. Straight stitch is the basic stitch that is used for sewing. It is mostly used to stitch two pieces of fabrics together to achieve a perfect straight stitch. Choose your stitch length, that is 2.5 to 3 mm. Square stitch involves creating a series of connected straight stitches at right angles, forming a distinctive square pattern. There are two types of square stitches: reinforcing corners and decorative stitches. Reinforcing corners are commonly used to strengthen the corners in tote bags, pouches, or quilt blocks. whereas decorative stitches create decorative and visually interesting grid pattern on the fabric. Curved stitch follows a gentle curved path, accommodating rounded or circular fabric edges. Triangle stitch incorporates 3 sides of stitches, creating a triangular pattern in sewing, often used for decorative or structural purposes. Examples of triangle stitch are stacked triangle stitch, half square triangle units, and folded star quilt block. The back tack stitch involves sewing a few stitches in reverse at the beginning and end of a seam. The 2 ways to do back tack stitches on a sewing machine are manual and automatic. Spiral stitch progresses in a continuous and spiraling pattern. Three different types of spiral stitch are free motion spiral, continuous spiral, and echo spiral. Zigzag stitch is a versatile sewing technique that moves in a zigzag motion, commonly used for finishing edges, preventing fraying, and adding decorative touches to sewing. Now, let's look at the general procedure for practicing on fabric. Take a fabric and draw lines 1 centimeter apart under each other. Start the machine and lift the presser foot lifter and place the fabric under it. Place both hands on the fabric. Then lower the pressure foot and begin to gently pedal carefully. Monitor the movements of the needle and fabric and the speed of the machine. Repeat this exercise until you have finished sewing all the lines. To sew angle curves, lower the pressure foot so that the needle is inside the fabric and sew with horizontal lines. Practice stitching at the vertically curved edges and stopping the time lines and turning the fabric. Next, let's perform stitch lines in different shapes on fabric. Draw lines on a fabric. Once the fabric is fixed, keep the mark on the fabric under the needle point, under the presser foot. Start moving the treadle while you push the flywheel of the machine by right hand towards yourself. Continue the movement of the treadle with your feet. While stitching, control the fabric with both hands. With the movement of machine, the feed dog will automatically transport the fabric, but you have to pay attention to the needle and presser foot to maintain the correct line of the stitches. Keep full tension on the fabric and needle. Take care that your fabric is not caught in the treadle wheel of the machine. Save your fingers from needle while controlling the fabric, as machine stitching is faster than hand stitching. Now, perform all the stitch lines once on double-layered fabric of 20 into 22.5 centimeter. Cut the fabric for 7 sets, that is, 14 pieces. Put 2 pieces together above each other. Bast and stitch all around, leaving 0.5 cm from all edges. Take excess fabric, 20 into 45 cm, to perform the straight stitch lines. While working on the curved stitches, insert brown sheet underneath the fabric. To secure threads at the end, use reverse stitching mechanism. Place these back stitches over the previous stitch or just inside the previous stitch line. You can also tie the thread ends. Therefore, you first have to bring the lower thread to the right side of the fabric. Pull on the upper thread to catch the lower thread. Then, pull it through completely. Tie threads together and trim away the excess threads. By training in this way, mistakes and irregular stitches that occur when sewing clothes can be prevented. Let's recap the key points discussed. Some of the basic types of stitches are straight stitch, square stitch, curved stitch, triangle stitch, back tack, spiral, and zigzag. Practice to design, draw, and stitch patterns on fabric. This brings us to the end of the session. Hope you have gained a good understanding of practicing on fabric. See you in the next session.
Hello, welcome to the session on practicing darning and patching. Let us look at the objectives of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to darn a tear and a hole, stitch a plain patch, a hemmed patch, and a decorative patch. The required tools and materials for darning and patching are darning needle, hand needle, worn out garment, patcher, threads, tailor's scissors, tailor's chalk, sewing machine. Now, let's learn darning a tear and a hole. First, study the weave of the fabric and the cut position carefully. Then, mark lines all around the cut, maintaining an equal distance of approximately 0.5 cm to 1 cm on all sides. Use these marks as a guidance for darning. Draw both edges of the cut together with an open fishbone stitch. On the wrong side, start to darn on marks rectangular to the cut. For this, use the darning needle and, if possible, use thread from the same fabric. Make sure to draw threads from the underside of the garment, that is, hem or facing, etc. For best results, use a warp thread if you darn in the warp direction, and a weft thread if you darn in the weft direction. Darn according to the weave of the fabric, that is, one thread up and one thread down. Leave loops at the end of the row of stitches. Provide longer loops at each alternate row of the stitches for shrinking. Next, let's learn the darning of a triangular cut. For the triangular cut, follow the same method as the straight cut. Then, start working on the weft way first. Then, weave in warp direction through the previous stitches. Now, the stitches will overlap at the corner. Next, let's learn the darning of a hole. For darning a hole, first trim the edges of a hole so that a rectangular shape is visible. Also, trim the worn-out places around the hole. Now, darn the holes where the darning should extend the hole on all sides by several stitches. Finally, weave with alternating stitches. Now, let's look at patching instructions for garment repair. First, select a patch. The patch should be of the same material as the garment. Once the fabric is figured, cut the patch to match the designs. If the material is to be durable, it should be of the same weight and texture as the garment. Always cut a patch on the straight of the fabric and match the grain of the patch to the grains of the garment. Now, let's look at the stitching of a plain patch. Independent of the shape of the hole, the patch has to be square or rectangular, based with a regular or square shape around the worn-out place or hole. Trim the edges around the hole to match the shape of the basting and leave 1 cm inside from the basting. Clip 1 cm diagonal cuts at each corner. Fold back the edges to the wrong side of the garment. Press flat and be careful not to stretch the edges. Place the cutout part on the patch fabric and mark the outlines. Add 1 cm seam allowance all around. Mark again and cut the outer lines based on the inner rectangular shape. Place the patch in position with right sides of the fabric together. Keep the hole in the middle, matching the basting lines on the garment and the patch. Fix the patch first with basting stitches on the previous basting lines. Then, stitch by hand or with machine stitches close to the basting lines. Take care to tuck the clipped corners carefully. Press open the seam allowances and trim off the corners. Finish the seam allowance with overcasting and remove basting. Next, let's learn to stitch a hemmed patch. For hemmed patch, add a bigger seam allowance to the patch piece. That is, add 1.5 cm instead of 1 cm. Attach the patch similar to the plain patch. Trim the corners of the garment seam allowance. Press both seam allowances flat on the garment. Turn the patch seam allowance by 0.5 cm to the underside. Baste it to the garment. Then hem it with slip stitch. Finally, remove the basting. Finally, let's learn how to stitch a decorative patch. Decorative patches are attached to the right area of the garment. Select a color contrasting with dress fabric and draw a design on paper. The shape of the design should cover the damaged portion in the dress properly. Pin the paper on the patch fabric for cutting the patch. Cut through both paper and fabric together on the drawn shape. Baste patch in place. Set running stitches on the outer edges of patch. Finish with close buttonhole stitches covering the running stitches. Trim the edges of the garment at the damaged portion from underside. Leave 1 cm seam allowance. Finish it with overcasting. Finally, decorate the patch with embroidery stitches. Let's recap the key points discussed. Study the weave of the fabric and the cut position carefully before darning. Use warp thread if you darn in warp direction and weft thread if you darn in weft direction. A patch should be of the same material as the garment, independent of the shape of the hole. The patch has to be square or rectangular. This brings us to the end of the session. Hope you have gained a good understanding about practicing darning and patching. See you in the next session. Hello, welcome to the session on Stitching of Lady Suit Part 1, Drafting a Salwar. Let us look at the objectives of this session. At the end of this session, you will be able to calculate the material required for a salwar, draft and cut the paper pattern of the salwar, prepare master pattern, lay and cut the salwar components for stitching. The required tools and materials for drafting a salwar are 2.50 meter into 0.90 meter of poplin, 2 brown sheets, tailor's scissors, tailor's chalk, measuring tape, L scale, French curve, tracing wheel, straight pins. First, let's look at the measurements of the fabric. The full length measures 100 centimeter. The hip measurement is 100 centimeter. The bottom circumference is 38 centimeter. First, let's draft a paper pattern. Lay the brown sheet widthwise folded on the cutting table. Draw the drafting of side panel, center panel and waistband of salwar on the brown sheet, following the instructions for drafting. Here are the instructions for drafting. 0 to 1 is the full length of the garment. Mark from 0 to 2, which is 1/4 of the hip measurement minus 5 centimeter. Mark from 2 to 3 and from 1 to 4 is equivalent and corresponds to 1/6 of the hip measurement H. Mark from 3 to 5, which is half of the width of the cloth, minus 2 centimeter. Mark from 5 to 6, which is the sum of 1/3 of the hip measurement H and 5 centimeter minus the belt. Mark from 1 to 7, which is half of the bottom measurement. The distance from 0 to 8 and from 2 to 9 is the hip measurement plus 8 centimeter divided by 4. Mark the fold line and grain line. The distance from 2 to 10 is half of the distance from 0.2 to 0.9. Next, let's learn to cut the pattern. Cut the prepared paper pattern along the cutting lines. The garment's waistband is to be cut from 0, 8, 9 and 2. The center panel should be cut from 2, 3, 4 and 1. The side panel requires cutting from 3, 9, 5, 6, 7 and 4. Now, let's learn to create the master pattern. The instructions for the master pattern are: the belt waistline for the fold down casing should measure 5 centimeter. For all other sides, the measurement should be 1 centimeter. Lay the other brown sheet and mark the outline of the waistband paper pattern. Remove the pattern and add the seam allowance to it. Similarly, lay the other components one by one and draw the seam allowance. Mark the master pattern allowances and then cut the excess brown sheet to get the master pattern of salwar with waistband. Name the cut pattern components for future reference. Now, let's learn about the layout and cutting process. Follow the given measurements and calculate the material required by using the formula 2 times the length of the salwar plus 1 length of the body rise minus belt plus 8 cm for shaping plus 5 cm for fold down casing plus 3 cm for seams. Lay the salwar fabric widthwise folded on the cutting table with its wrong side facing. Arrange the patterns of salwar components: side panel, center panel and waistband. Mark the outline of the laid patterns on the fabric using tailor's chalk. Similarly, draw required number of components of salwar. Check the pattern positions for grain lines. Remove the master pattern. Mark and cut notches at center of center panel. Cut along the marked lines with sharp scissors. Fold and tie all the components of salwar together to prevent it from missing. Let's recap the key points discussed. Draw and cut patterns for the side panel, center panel and waistband on a folded brown sheet. Create a master pattern by marking the outlines of the patterns on another brown sheet, adding seam allowances and cutting. Calculate fabric needs. Lay the fabric on the table. Mark pattern outlines. Cut the fabric and secure the components together. This brings us to the end of the session. Hope you have gained a good understanding about the stitching of ladies' suit part 1, drafting of salwar. See you in the next session.
Namaskar and a very good morning. I'm K.K. Mishra from Ministry of Power, Government of India, and I'm here to discuss and talk about the various initiatives taken by Government of India, Ministry of Power regarding digital initiatives. This is a creation of an ecosystem which enables consumer not only to facilitate the various services but also empower and provide better and improved services over a